Hi and welcome to Studio SN. My name is Sara Naumann and today I'm going to show you an alcohol ink resist. You can see the resist image here on my card focal, and this has been done with alcohol ink. And this technique is a favorite for me since the first time I saw it, and I thought it was absolute magic. I learned this at Ranger U from Tim Holtz, and it's really become one of those go-to techniques for me every time I want something really kind of special. But the cool thing is it's also really easy to do, so even better. I'm going to bring in my piece of cardstock, and this is just a plain off-white matte cardstock, so not glossy. I also need something, a clear, non-porous surface on which to put my color. And you could use glass, you could use plastic. I've used sheet protectors before. For this case, I really like using clear packing tape, and the reason is because it's inexpensive. You can find it anywhere. And if you do make a mistake or two, it's not like you're using the only piece that you have or something that's difficult or expensive. The other nice thing about it is that if you want to adhere it to a piece of paper or some other surface, then it's already got the adhesive on it. So sometimes if you're trying to glue down plastic or glass, you have an issue with the glue showing through. So in this case, you don't. And what I've done is put down a strip of this packing tape, and it's about 2 inches wide, and I've just put it down onto this piece of cardstock, and you can probably see the shine of it. It's just going across here, but not over here. And I'm going to color this with my alcohol inks. So the two alcohol inks that I have are lettuce, and then this one is bottle. And yes, I know the bottles look terrible. I use these a lot. And they've also been traveling with me for classes and workshops. And if you're ever traveling with something like this, by the way, put them into ziplock plastic bags and then put them into those quilted cosmetic bags. And in case something leaks or spills, it won't travel and color all the rest of the clothes in your suitcase. So that little tip saved me and my clothes one time when I was going to an art retreat. So I passed that technique on to you. Now the next thing I need is my alcohol ink applicator. And this is a little handle applicator. It's got a Velcro top on here. And I just need to put down my piece of felt. And then I'll squeeze on a couple of drops of each one of my colors, lettuce and bottle. I also want to have some blending solution. And blending solution does exactly what it says. It just blends out some of the color on here. So I'll add a few drops of that. And then twisting and turning my applicator, I'm just going to put it directly down onto the tape area of my paper. So you can see that color is coming on here. Now it's pretty faint, and I think I'm going to want it a little bit darker. So let me add a few more drops of the alcohol ink and then pounce on a little bit more. And this technique does work with a little bit darker colors of alcohol ink. Very, very pale is not going to be quite as effective because this is a resist technique. Now I also want to get a little bit of that color onto the matte cardstock. So I've got it coming out here for just a little bit as well as all over here. Now I need to let this dry, and that only takes a couple of seconds really. But I have a piece that's already dry, so we don't have to wait at all. And the next thing I'm going to need is my stamp. And the stamps that I'm using are from Paper Artsy. And this is the stamp set right here. I'm going to use this leaf image over here. And so I've already got it mounted onto my clear block, so it's ready to go. The other thing I need is an Archival black ink pad. And this is really, really important. No other black ink pad will work for this. If you don't have the jet black Archival ink pad, never fear, because this is one of my always out on my table ink pads. You can use this for a lot of other applications too. It's not just this technique. So it's a great basic black ink pad. So if you don't have it, then it's another good reason to get it. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp and stamp it onto my paper. Now I want most of my stamp to go onto the alcohol inked area with a little bit of it going off the side. I'm going to press this down, stamp it evenly, lift it off, and here's where I need to work quickly. So I've got a lint-free cloth, and I'm going to start blotting the black ink from my stamped image. Need to work pretty quickly. Don't stamp and then go, have a cup of tea or something. You really do need to get to the ink before it dries. As I'm blotting this, I'm making sure that I'm constantly rotating this cloth so that I am always working with a clean-ish area of it. Now that I've blotted away the excess, I'm going to start rubbing really gentle, short strokes into the design. I'm not taking this and swooping it all over, because then I can really just smear this black ink all over, and I don't want to do that. I'm trying to remove it without disrupting the rest of the color. Now I want to do this technique on matte cardstock, because you can see how close I'm getting to this area here on the cardstock. And if I had done this on glossy paper, I would be smearing this, or pretty close to smearing it every single time. So I've tried to do it, and I've tried being really careful with it, and it just doesn't work as well. So you can see already my resisted image, and it looks a bit gray. So what I need to do after I remove this first layer is come back in and start buffing. And I'm doing that with really short but very firm rounded movements. Again, using a clean area of my cloth every time. And you'll start to see, can you see this area here? You'll start to see where that color lifts off. And you do want to be careful with this too, because if you're not careful, you can take away some of the alcohol ink on there. But once you've done this once or twice, you get the feeling of it. Sometimes techniques like this, you just need to practice once or twice. So you see I've removed part of that by accident, but in some cases it kind of doesn't matter. So then you go and you just remove the rest of that gray layer on there. You can see here the contrast between the gray and that bright white is really showing. And this is the technique, super easy. And I love it because it really is just such a surprising effect between those two colors. So let me show you again the original card that I did, and tell you a little bit about how I put it together. So I've got my strip of tape on here, and I trimmed down that cardstock just a little bit. You can see the edge of my tape right here. I had cut it at an angle, and I left it that way because I thought, well, that kind of looks nice. So another interesting part of the card. Matted it onto black cardstock and then wrapped the ribbon around here. This quote is also on that same stamp sheet from Paper Artsy, and I love it. I absolutely love it. The reason that I did this technique, putting some of the image onto the tape and then having some of it just plain black, is because I think it really draws attention to the resist technique. I think if you just had it like this, it would be nice, but this really adds a little something to it. It also has a nice balance, a nice contrast that's picked up with the black and white ribbons in here. It's a nice black and white color combination and accented by the green. So this is the alcohol ink resist technique. I hope you enjoyed today's segment, and I hope you found this technique to be just as magical as I did. Thank you so much for joining me today. For more inspiration, please do stop by my website at saranaumann.com. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.